Welcome to Reality TV News Update, where you'll never miss a moment of your favorite shows. Tensions rise ahead of the biggest tribal council in franchise history. Coach looks sad while sitting in his hammock. The Tidewalker stews. What up, y'all? I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm now really into haiku. They appear to be less pretentious than sonnets, from what I can tell. Or wait, is it more pretentious? Honestly, I am unsure, but they are now totally my jam. Check it out. Tribal Council's Illish Idol Callout. Zach Brown, where are you? I could do this for the rest of the day, sort of sitting in a corner of the Entertainment Weekly office and amusing myself with clever 5-7-5-syllable phrases while people look at me and worry about my mental health. Let 'em worry. They are unaware that one must engage in these kinds of activities in order to even have the remotest possibility of becoming one of the four horsemen. The club is very exclusive. There are only 4 spots left. When Colby was eliminated from Survivor 50, it gave me hope that he would join. But then, without any vetting whatsoever, Coach goes and inducts Rizzo into the club to fill his spot. What the hell? That dude already has tres leches, for crying out loud. He also has the longest nickname in the history of reality television. Now that young punk gets to be in the Four Horsemen as well? He doesn't even want to be in the Four Horsemen. Does this mean he also inherits the Oak-Bound Warrior nickname? Because this dude already has too many nicknames as it is. Man, this is some serious bullshit. This clear slight has me pissed off, which puts me in good company on Survivor 50 this week, with scores of contestants getting annoyed at each other. In the most recent Survivor 50 Mystery Box, I discussed how and why returning player seasons can result in more raw emotions than a typical newbie edition, and that was clearly demonstrated. It all started with Tiffany on night 13 directly after Tribal Council. In her confessions, she called Jonathan a lying skank and said, "I feel like I have fire under my skin right now," in between random screams, despite presenting herself as calm, collected, and collected to others. I'm so enraged, and she was promising the thing we all, as Survivor viewers, want to see more than anything else. More Zach Brown? No. Revenge. Tiff promised, "I am about to dance all over their Survivor graves the minute I get the opportunity," prompting me to inquire, could someone please provide this woman with dancing shoes? It did not have anything to do with the Chinese takeout that Emily Flippin was shoving into her mouth faster than she could even chew, because it set the tone for what would end up being a delicious episode of Survivor. So with that, let's recap everything that went down on Episode 7 of Survivor 50 before I start getting distracted by haiku again. Also, did you know that haiku is spelled haiku? See? Already getting distracted. Tensions rise. It appears that large men who are depressed on hammocks are a regular occurrence on Survivor 50, and every bingo card should reflect this immediately. Watching Coach crying gently on a hammock while saying, "That's not how I play Survivor," to no one in particular, may be my favorite moment of 2026. It was also a hilarious punctuation mark to a weird scene in which it at first looked like Dee and Coach were going to have at it, but then Jonathan stepped in and was all, "I want a piece of this too," and returned to the Charlie vote as the two verbally argued. I'm shocked at Jonathan. At the same time, I'm not shocked because I always knew he didn't have a brain. She just acted like a scarecrow on his thigh. Brutal. While this is happening, half of the tribe is simply observing. When Rick Devens was able to simply walk up, take a seat, and enjoy the show, I was more envious than ever. And then it was time for the after show. The after show consisted of Coach addressing the masses and proclaiming, "If anybody out here wants to run around and tell lies and play that kind of way in Survivor 50, they ain't winning the game. It is a fact. Vote me out tonight. There will be hell to pay." Check out the Dragon Slayer threatening to poison the jury against anyone who takes him out of the game. It should be noted at this time that while I think poisoning the jury because you are suffering from an acute case of BJS, bitter jury syndrome, is super lame, I have no issue whatsoever with threatening to do that within the game, because that lever is a tool at your disposal to pull should you choose to do so. I don't think it actually helps and just gets people even madder at you, so I would not advise it, but I don't have any moral outrage over the move. Whether it falls under the honor and integrity banner is another question altogether. For some reason, all this anger then inspired Coach to start composing haiku, using phrases like, "Nobody tells the truth like Coach," and "War has been declared." Not everyone was a fan, including the curious case of Emily Flippin. Coach's attitude, Emily told Rick, was making her angry, but Emily has made it a habit this season to upset her friends. It is straight up comical how many times Emily Flippin has completely undermined people she has been playing alongside by being incapable of keeping any information to herself. Seriously, they should just start inserting a laugh track underneath any scene where she starts spilling state secrets and then her ally has to go and attempt to clean up the mess she created. This time, Emily's damage might have been the deciding factor in keeping Dee in the game. Despite the fact that the Honor and Integrity gang had already set their sights on Dee, a formidable trio in the middle, Siri, Ozzy, and Rizzo, could have had a significant impact on the outcome. But after Emily informed Rizzo that Dee had told him about his idol, that was over. Her season 45 classmate was cooked, and by friendly fire no less. Whoops. Emily Flippin continues to be a major person of interest this season. Shouldering the pain. Anyone who actually watched Snake in the Grass could tell you two things. One, Bobby Bones is no Jeff Probst. Two, Stephanie LaGrossa Kendrick is an absolutely dishonest liar. The worst. Go and ask her. She will speak for herself. So the entire journey this week was worth it just to watch her have to concoct an entire ruse about what happened when the boat took her away. What really happened was Steph had to essentially hold her arm up in the air for an hour to win a steal a vote. But she would lose her vote if her arm dropped. But there was some Survivor history at play here, because back on day one of Heroes vs. Villains, Stephanie famously dislocated her shoulder. I was a few feet from it when it happened, and you can check out the raw footage I shot of the injury below. Because of that injury, there was no way Steph was going to be able to hold that arm up for an hour, so she now had to do the contest with her left, non-dominant hand. Not fun. Should I write about it in a haiku? No? Fine. Your loss. In any case, we got a brief Stephanie montage that depicts her radical transformation from a fit 20-something to a fit 40-something. The woman had also won the steal a vote by the time the montage was over. But what would she tell her tribe? Steph's phony baloney story was that you got to keep your vote if you made it to 30 minutes and got an advantage if you made it to an hour. While I will say that on its surface, that is a decent enough fib that was not on the Aubrey level of unbelievability. But in modern Survivor, if you come back with your vote and no advantage, nobody's likely to believe whatever story you put out there. Especially not Siri, who knows Stephanie too well after doing 3 different reality competition shows with her. And the well is where Siri pressed her on it, and Steph came clean. "I promise you I will not say a word," Siri assured her, before doing her best Emily Flippin imitation and immediately going and telling Rizzo. Wow, in between Coach inducting Rizzo into the 4 Horsemen and Rizzo's polyamorous threesome with Siri and Ozzy, it is amazing how well the RIZOG has done in this game, especially seeing as how wary the entire cast was before the season began. Siri was straight up making fun of the guy, and Coach was insistent on getting rid of the season 49ers, and here they both are wanting to work with the guy. Impressive. Extremely impressive.
Rock. Look at this. It's 2 for 1. We received both a team challenge for rewards and an individual challenge for immunity. Navigating a massive boulder through a massive obstacle course was the first obstacle course team portion. It was still an exciting back-and-forth affair, with another puzzle showdown between Christian with Emily and Chrissy with Coach. but the fact that the boulders never collided on the crisscross course, which is the whole reason you put it in there in the first place, was the only thing I didn't like about it. Professor Hubicki was dominated by Actuary Hoffbeck the last time they met. This one appeared to be a draw. Although Christian's teal team did win the Chinese takeout game by a very small margin, they also started their puzzle first, so they don't really deserve to be praised for it. But it meant Christian, Ozzy, Rick, Emily, Dee, Stephanie, and Joe would all compete for individual immunity in the Survivor Boom Mic Challenge. I felt a little bad for Steph for having to raise her arms once more, but my joy at watching reality TV contestants suffer for our entertainment always outweighs that kind of legitimate concern. It eventually came down to Ozzy versus Joe, with the grizzled veteran taking down Club Kondo for his 8th individual immunity win over his entire Survivor career, one less than record holder Boston Rob. Now he, Rizzo, and Sairi can all get kinky with the necklace. Coach loses it. With Dee not winning immunity, her fate seemed pretty sealed, but damn if Coach didn't do the best he could to shift the target to himself. To begin, he was irritated by the fact that everyone wanted to split votes on Dee rather than Tiff so they wouldn't upset someone who was still in the game. After Christian heard about the split vote, he lost it completely. His most unhinged moment came when he started trashing Christian to Rick, the guy universally recognized as Christian's biggest ally. It got so bad that Rizzo had to go calm Coach down while telling us after the fact that it was embarrassing that a guy who had never even been on the island 3 months ago had to teach Coach how to play Survivor. "We slay dragons at Tribal," he told the legend. "We don't slay dragons at camp." Rick and Emily, on the other hand, were done following the Tidewalker's orders and even considered voting against him. However, it did not appear to have any real momentum. Dee's wild scrambling at Tribal confirmed that she was in major trouble. Meanwhile, Coach was liberally paraphrasing from Ursula K. A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. Only in silence the word, only in darkness the light, only in dishonesty truth. That seems to be less offensive than comparing Survivor to a firehouse, which God took on its own life. And then you also had Jonathan giving us the true full circle episode moment of once again calling out Dee for lying in the game. After covering this show for 26 years, that is something you apparently are not allowed to do on Survivor, which is news to me. Shame on you, Dee Valladares. You were even a co-host on the now mysteriously absent On Fire podcast. You ought to be aware that neither Survivor nor baseball involve crying. This was easily the most entertaining tribal of the season, and that was even before we got to Tiffany telling off Coach with voting, "You're a self-righteous hypocrite, and I hope I get to write your name every single day until you go home." And then there was the whole wacky Aubrey situation. Wanting to save her boomerang idol for a rainy day, she chose not to play it at the previous tribal and then explained, and I swear to the Survivor gods I am not making this up, she simply forgot to play it. A 4-time Survivor participant skipped playing an idol? That's more hilarious than Genevieve's reaction to Jeff Probst's rapping. The interesting thing about Survivor 50 is you have these returning all-stars and they are making big mistakes, just like newbies would. The difference, however, is they recognize them as unforced errors. We've seen players like Aubrey, Dee, Coach, and Emily all insert feet in mouth. Don't get Q started on feet. I guess that's a step in the right direction, because Joe always told me that knowing is half the battle. Regarding the opposing side of the conflict, I believe it can be found in a haiku, Delightful. It was indeed Dee's time to go in the biggest, in terms of number of players, tribal ever, and it was in decisive fashion. While technically the votes were split to protect against an idol, it was essentially a unanimous vote, except for Dee ally Tiffany. This is the exact sort of big group post-merge vote dumping situation I wrote about last week in explaining why the show likes to break the players up into smaller groups where more unpredictable votes can shake things up. So after Dee's shot in the dark scroll read "not safe," that was pretty much the end of it. Being the last winner and making it all the way to the jury must feel like a victory, because Dee was clearly mentioned by the cast as one of the greatest threats before the game. A win without $1 million check attached. Dee will be the first to say, as she did in this episode, that she played far from a perfect game. Her decision to make so many enemies by taking out Charlie was probably not prudent at that time, but I knew from talking to her out there that she was determined to play a fast, aggressive game, and that's exactly what she did once she finally got a chance to go to Tribal. That's what I want to see from my Survivor players, and that's what I saw from Dee this season. What kind of Dee will we see during my exit interview with the Season 45 champ? You'll have to tune in to see. Also, make sure to vote in our very important poll about Probst's favorite baseball hat color and find out what color the cast of Survivor 50 chose. While you're off doing that, I'll start getting to work on next week's Scoop of the Crispy, and I promise that one will be haiku-free. Want to be kept up with all things Survivor? Subscribe to Entertainment Weekly's free Survivor Weekly newsletter to receive all the most recent news, interviews, and commentary.